Hey there, good people, and welcome back to the DNP podcast. I'm your host, Deb Wagbiller, and I'm ready for another week of NFL action. This episode will discuss the Kansas City Chiefs' chances of making the playoffs after a terrible loss to the Denver Broncos. Also, what has easily been the worst case scenario for my Atlanta Falcons in regards to this season. And as I do every week, picks for 6 games on the weekend against spread in our Pick 6. This pod is available on Spotify, YouTube, and our podcast, so like, rate, subscribe, and all that good stuff so you can stay up to date with each upload. On Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs came off their bye, ready to get their season back on track, start the charge for a division title, and lay everyone in their wake like they have done in seasons prior. And they lost 22-19 to the Denver Broncos, and now sit at 500, 3.5 games behind the Broncos with the tiebreaker on top. And 1.5 games back on the Chargers as well in that same AFC West division, who have the tiebreaker over them after their Week 1 win in Brazil. So it's fair to say that the season isn't going to plan for the Chiefs this year. Now, what I will say, in regards to the Chiefs, is that the playoffs are very much still on the cards for them, very much still in play despite being 500, because you look at their schedule, and it is still the 14th toughest schedule, so about average in terms of winning percentage of their remaining opponents. You've got this weekend, massive implications, massive games for both sides, because they've got the 8-2 Colts coming to town into Arrowhead. It's a big one. Then you've got Cowboys away on Thanksgiving night. Well, not Thanksgiving night, but on Thanksgiving, second game of that slate. Texans at home, Chargers at home, Titans away, Broncos at home on Christmas Day, and then the Raiders in Week 18. So you look at that and you say they're currently 5-5. So can you find 5 wins there, get them to 10-7? 100%. No, I'd say they're for sure, because it's the team that, in terms of yards per game and points per game, is top 10 in both offense and defense. So it's not like last year where, even though they're 15-2, it's like, this it's not clicking, something's off. They're just fluking through ways. This year it's seemingly the opposite, because they are looking much cleaner in certain aspects, but they're just not getting the wins that will then alleviate your worries in that sense. And heck, even last year still made it to a Super Bowl, right? And I mean, I'll be honest with you. Let's say a 10-7 Chiefs goes into the playoffs as a 7 seed. As a 2 seed, you're still backing yourself because you're the 2 seed. But the way the playoffs are situated right now, it's okay. We're the Chiefs. We're going on the road to the Colts. So we're going on the road to the Broncos, who obviously on a massive winning streak now, biggest in the league, but in terms of playoff wins as a group, still 0 on the board. Same with the Patriots as well. If they end up being the 2nd seed, it's like, okay, like we're feeling really good about ourselves, but now we've got Mahomes coming to town, like the current dynasty to say, or at least the most experienced, threatening. Like, as a wild card, you don't want to see the Chiefs be the ones that you draw, regardless of how you feel about how good they've been this season, because they are the Chiefs. Like, they do show up in playoff time. Like, I remember a couple of years back when it was like the first year they weren't the 1 seed and they're having to go to Buffalo and Baltimore back to back, and you're like, they're not going to do it. And then they did. And then they, made the Super Bowl and they won it that year because they beat the Niners in that season. So it's just a case of, you get the fact that they're not getting the wins, and, especially because all these losses are being close losses as well. The 1-score games that they were very much on the right side of last year. So it's that case of like, okay, is there the luck running out? Is the black magic, the juju running out for the Chiefs? And as much as, people can be facetious about the fact that the refs were on their side or whatever, like, you still can't deny the fact that Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones, like, those are guys who, when the time comes for a big play to be made, they do make those big plays because they're experienced in that sense. They've been there and done that in every scenario, which a lot of the teams they're competing with haven't. So as much as the worry comes of like, okay, this is Andy Reid off the bye, Chiefs off their bye, and they get the loss, you're still looking at it on Sunday when the Colts, who are coming off a bye themselves, are 3.5-point underdogs in the game. So as much as you want to look at it and say, okay, the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs anymore, or the dynasty's done, or this, that, as whatever claim you want to make about them, the fact of the matter is that when you are the ones who have to play them, you're still locking your boots up in the week. You're not taking them as slouches. You're looking at it and you're saying, right, damn, it's the Chiefs coming to town, or we're heading to Arrowhead. Like, that's, you can't expect just to walk through and think, okay, yeah, it's old man team that we're just going to walk through. Like, you're still going to be locked in for a battle for 4 quarters. So it's going to be an interesting end to the season with regards to, okay, how do we see this team moving forward? Because when you want to say what their path is to the playoffs, it's most likely going to be maybe being second in the division, usurping the Chargers for that sense. And I mean, if you saw what the Chargers did last week, right, going to Jacksonville and getting just absolutely destroyed bell to bell, you're like, okay, Chiefs could make up the 2 games behind they are the Chargers. No doubt. They've even got them as well. And if you want to look at the Chargers schedule, okay, coming back against the Raiders off the bye, but then it's Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys. What? I mean, the way the Cowboys were able to take on the Raiders O-line, I don't think the Chargers O-line with the injuries at the minute are that much better. So you're going on the road to AT&T Stadium against a team that looks a bit more revitalized on defense at the minute. We'll see whether the quality lasts in that regard. But again, as I say, Eagles coming to town, Chiefs, Cowboys as a back-to-back 3-week sled. That could easily be an 0-3 run, and then the Chiefs take their spot and usurp them if they handle their business. Because again, in that same slate, it's Texans at home, Chargers, and Titans. So as much as you want to say, okay, yay, you all celebrate, I'm not a Chiefs fan, just to be clear. It may sound like that because there's an element of glaze, if you want to put it, but I mean, until I see it, seeing is believing. I just can't fully back the facts that the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs altogether. They're going to find a pathway, and by hook or by crook. This isn't a Bengals team from last season where it's, you don't want to see the Bengals because Joe Burrow, but you sure as hell want to see that Bengals defense in every aspect, right? Last year, this year, because they just aren't up to par. And now, as I said before, a top 10 Chiefs team in points per game, yards per game on both sides of the ball, like, that's a much more dangerous outfit that you'd see coming to your house on as a 6th or 7th seed. Wasn't intentional. Then, as a Colts, as a Patriots, as a Broncos, I mean, the prospect of being first rounded isn't out of the question when your first round game is against the current, well, at least AFC dynasty, because they've made every Super Bowl or missed one Super Bowl out of the last 5. Like, that is no slouch. That is no team that you're looking at and you're saying, okay, we're just gonna beat batter. Nice, we got the 2 seed, easy matchup first round. Nope, coming to your house and Like, as they've proven, they can go to Buffalo, they can go to Baltimore, get Lamar and Josh Allen on the road and handle business. Do you think if you're rocking up with Daniel Jones, as great as, well, it wasn't really him that was great in that Berlin game, it was Jonathan Taylor. But regardless, you've got Daniel Jones coming up, or I guess the Denver would probably say that Sean Payton makes Bo Nix better. Bo Nix definitely rise up to the big occasion, so no slight to him. But you think it is going to be in for an easy ride, or that anyway you're the favourites, or if you watching this right now is saying you had to put your house on the line, who's winning, Colts or Chiefs at Lucas Oil in the wild card round? Are you willing to put your house at the Colts win? I don't think there's a man, woman, child alive that would put that much at risk or be so chest puffed out to say that, no, Chiefs are done, mate. They're gone. There's nothing about them. So I think it's very, it's very much on the cards, and I'd, kind of guarantee it here, sitting now, that Chiefs gonna win a playoff game this year. Book it. It's happening. I said it. You heard it here first. So let's see if I'm right. But I believe I am. Right. I have to speak on what was probably the worst week in my life as a Falcons fan since Super Bowl 51, at least, right? Okay. We'll start off with losing to the Panthers again this season. Getting swept by them. Swept by the Panthers. Jesus Christ. For the first time since 2013, so 12 years since. I wasn't even watching the Falcons on a weekly basis then. That's how, 12 years ago. So what, I was 11. This is the first time since then. There's Cam Newton, with Kuechly, Greg Olsen, this pre their own Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl 50, where, they lost that one. But yeah, going into that game, knowing it was a must-win as well, after close losses to the Patriots and the Colts the weeks prior. So that was obviously 4-game losing streak. That's now 5. And starting the game really well, actually, right? Like, you have Bijan cut outside, get a touchdown. He had another touchdown first half as well. Algier as well. We're up, 21-10 halftime. You're thinking, okay, yeah, let's move. Handle business. Okay, now we can go on a run. We've got Saints this week coming up, the Jets week after. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's go on a run. Let's do it. Yeah, playoffs still on the cards. Maybe slim chance, but hey, you win games and then you can make that run required to get into the dance. Maybe you serve the Bucks who lost to the Bills, right? So there's hope. There's something. There's that slither. Then it just comes crashing down because they obviously come up these days. They get a touchdown coming out the half, and then they get a field goal coming out the half, and then we give them the ball back because they punch out of Nacho Books. Oh wait, no, sorry, correction. They get a touchdown because Natron Books gets burnt by Leggett. Old raccoon tenders eating Xavier Leggett just burns him straight. And the way the game Bryce Young was having, bloody hell. Talk about a guy who, loves an opponent. In terms of playing 1 out of 31, I think if my man would be in the Hall of Fame if he played the Falcons every week. Jesus Christ, 448. Most we'd given up all season passing yards is 259 or 258 to Drake May, and then my man just walks into the bend at 448. Okay, Bryce. Fair play to you, because you just gotta hold your hands up when someone plays like that. I don't even know what mark he even got last year, right, in the week 18 when my man's doing Steph Curry stuff where he's throwing it and no looking, and he's like, ooh, touchdown. Actually is. Jeez, we need to. Yeah, no. Whoever the next iteration, the next regime of Falcons football, I think maybe you draft to stop Bryce Young because you need to stop him just frying you every single chance he gets. But regardless of that, it's obviously the big reason this week is so damaging and so is doom and gloom from a Falcons fan perspective, right? Is because we get the news on Monday that maybe Michael Penix is partially torn his ACL in his left knee, and then today, as I'm recording this on Wednesday, the confirmation from the team is that he's having season-ending surgery on his left ACL, which would require a full reconstruction and has a recovery time estimated of 9 months, which, sitting here now, gets us to mid-August, which is right in the thick of, pre-season, getting ready for the season and training camp and all of that, the like, and you're like, oh, damn. And then to compound that as well, Drake London's week to week with a PCL sprain. Oh, great. Talk about kicking this while you're down. But it's just, when you draft Michael Penix 8th overall as well, when you've signed Kirk Cousins, which is another just head scratcher, that is now with hindsight, it's like, what were you guys thinking? But, Michael Penix came into the league of injury concerns, right? Like, he had the 2 ACLs on his right, so this is now the other leg that he's done. He had season ender on his shoulder as well. So you're looking at it, he's like, wow. This guy had the concerns coming into the league, and now he's first full year as the starter. He's got another season-ending surgery to do. So you have that question, and you have that worry of like, damn, in 2024 off season we've signed Kirk, who he's our quarterback for the rest of this season now, but you give him 100 million guaranteed, and then he completely falls off a cliff, and then you have Michael Penix as the backup plan, or you sign for now, draft for the future, and then he has his own injury proneness coming in, and the first season as a starter, he's out for the year after week 11 when he had already missed a game prior to that. So you're just looking at it and saying, okay, yeah, that is just one of, if not the worst collection duo decisions you can make in one offseason to damage a franchise. And I will say, and I wholeheartedly back Michael Penix as a quarterback, as a player on the field. I do believe that he is someone that, if fit and healthy, can be a franchise quarterback and can lead a team to win the NFC South, especially with the horses he's got next to him in terms of, the top horses, right? Like because I believe the Falcons as a roster is pretty top heavy, because you've got Drake London as wide receiver 1, and after that it's a bunch of disappointing names. You have Bijan, Algier, Pitts has his ups and downs, but his ups are great, and it's fair to say that he hasn't helped himself, and neither has the organization. So you have that sort of song and dance when it comes to him as a 4th overall pick as a tight end, which in itself you can question that pick when you look at the people drafted after him. But you just can't help but look at the Falcons as a team. It's a team I support, it's a team I root for. So this is very much coming from a fan's perspective, and a individual obviously pays a lot of attention to the league as a whole, but has an emotional attachment to one particular team, and you just think this it's just going to be a tough, long, winding road to get back to where, first year watching this team, right, it made Super Bowl. Fully year watching this team made Super Bowl, and thinking, okay, nice, this is Falcons football, right? Like, whoa, yeah, you got Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, you make Super Bowl, yeah, tough, 28-3 and all that, but you get back there, and you sooner than later, right? And you don't think that you're gonna have an 8-year playoff drought, which now looks like, heck, maybe the Panthers, who were on that same drought, are gonna be usurping you and ending theirs before you. So it's just talk about bad to worse. Like even your competitors around you are usurping you, and think about the Panthers who made their own what seemingly was a damaging trade, right? In terms of trading DJ Moore and a bunch of picks for Bryce Young, and then giving them the first overall pick again, which they used to draft Caleb Williams. You have your own boneheaded, or just, or maybe not boneheaded, but the trade that I'm now referring to, which is in this past year's draft, where you've got Jalen Walker in the bag at 15, and then you call up the Rams and you say, hey, we'll give you our first rounder next year for this 27th overall pick of James Pierce, and then we'll take James Pierce Jr. And as much as I like James Pierce Jr., and I think he is has definitely contributed to what has been the best Falcons pass rush in what is on track to be the best pass rush in history for this organization, for this franchise. But if you're now going to give them what is seemingly a top 5 pick, currently the 8th overall pick, but with Kirk Cousins at the helm, I don't know where the Falcons' wins are going to come from. I know we've got Saints this week, we've got Jets the week after. I'll honestly tell you, Kirk Cousins versus Tyrod Taylor, bro. You know, that's not an easy win. They go into MetLife on that turf. It's like, I don't know. Who knows? Even this weekend with the Saints, which obviously is a rivalry game, a big one, so you go into that with that violent venom. But Kirk Cousins, 2025 Kirk Cousins is not someone you want to ride with in any aspect in any game currently, because I've seen it. But yeah, just that trade, and even I think what will define, because I'll be honest, this Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot tandem has to be done after this year, especially Fontenot, because you had the chance, you had Arthur Smith, and now you had a chance to work with a second head coach, and it's both gone to crap. So that's done. But Raheem Morris, were like, just the idea of signing Kirk Cousins and then drafting Michael Penix a month or two after, and then coming out with the sort of rhetoric of, well, we're not going to pick this high ever again, or they're not going to pick this high when you've got Kirk Cousins in the bag, right? Like, we're going to pick this guy now, and we're just going to be having picks in the 20s for the rest of, so we're not going to, and then, I'm, bringing her through a big staff because we're going to get poached, because we're going to be really good. And you can tell that he's a good bloke, and I think don't want to go after a man's character, but I can go at a man that said what has proven to be overconfidence in his own ability as a head coach and the ability of the people around him, because saying you're not going to pick as high as 8th ever again, which, now in your last season, I'd expect as the head coach, you're going to be picking 8th as it stands, and easily could be higher. It just lends to what is just poor management and poor thinking and poor thought process, because then you trade a first round pick in the year after. I can only imagine the expectation that it would be a pick in the 20s, because no one in their right mind thinks, oh, well, we're going to pick in the top 5 next year, so let's just trade that pick for a guy who we believe is going to be really good. If you don't think, you think you're, the dog's beat or dog's bollocks, right? In terms of, it's fine because that first round is going to be, it's going to be pick 32, right? Like, oh, it's going to be really good. So it's just a definition of overconfidence and a definition of, backing yourself a bit too much. And then the way it's turned out was like, you've had all these close losses to good teams, right? You know, kickers cost you in the Bucks game in week 1 and the Patriots game, and then there was one late touchdown by the Niners that make it look a double. It makes it a double-digit loss when it could have easily been, a tight one either way. But there's the thinking's just all off, and it's seemingly going to set this team back a couple of years, or it already has, because you look at what the other franchises who have the young quarterbacks from the 2024 class have been able to do with their rosters in general, in terms of signing a whole new interior front for Caleb Williams and Dalman and Jackson and Tooney, and then the Commanders have gone out and got Laramie Tunsil and that the like, and Bo Nix is Dre Greenlaw Hufanga for his defense, so the whole roster's really strong and strengthened in strength. Like, you can't do that with the Falcons and Penix because you've got 47.5 or so, or at least 100 million guarantees tied to Kirk Cousins. So the roster, which you just thought was going to be great, could have been even better if you just didn't overspend on a guy coming off with Achilles injury. So you just look at it, and it's, I'm sure those of you listening can tell the just downtrodden nature of my voice right at the minute. It's just bad. It's terrible. I don't want to, it's just tough talking and following a team that is at the minute in a perennial state of mediocrity or worse. So I always hope, and when you've got guys like Bijan and Drake London, you're not far off if you can get a couple of decisions right and things here or there that can take it. But look at the Colts. No one would have thought coming into this season that the Colts would be anywhere near a playoff contention, let alone 1-seed contention. But you've got the coach in Shane Steichen. You bring in a capable quarterback, not cut. Like, Daniel Jones is capable, and you can make him look great. And you've got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. And you've got this assortment of receivers, depth, and you've got the O-line built up, and the defense has pieces. And then you can think to yourself, oh, okay, we're good. Like, we've actually got the record to show that we're good. Let's go out and get Sauce Gardner. Not just, in the draft, we'll hand you a pick because we'll be good, right? Not having the wins in the bank to actually ensure that pick will be of a value that you're willing to give up. Because there's no doubt in my mind, as great and as again, as promising as James Pierce Jr. has been, there's no doubt in my mind, if you know what's in store for you, you do not trade up. Again, obviously that is hindsight speaking, but still, you can't, in the team that's been out of the playoffs for 7 straight years at a time, now looking like 8, thinking, this first round will easily be of a low value or in the lower end of the order because we'll just be good. How about you ensure that you're good first? But again, it's the NFL. Coaching matters, GMing matters, like organizational structure matters. So if the right decisions are made, it could happen. But I'll just have to wait. All right, time to cheer myself up with my favourite part of the show and yours. It's time for the Pick 6. All right, yes. However badly I've been performing in this segment this year, because it hasn't been great. Maybe those watching should. No, you know what? No, I encourage you to tell me, because I have the knowledge and I'm going to turn it around. We're going to turn it around. Okay? That's all I know. Book it. I am that guy. I'm not overconfident like the Falcons ownership. Anyway, on to finer things. Last week's pick six. How did we do? Not great. 2-4. Starting off with a win. Bears +3. They ended up winning by 3. So as underdogs, they're getting the outright win there. Is very nice. Texans -7 to the Titans. You know what? The Titans at home, they obviously still lost. They lost this game, 16-13 or 19-6. It was lost by a last-minute field goal. But, they cover, at least, at home. I mean, they're the Titans, right? So they end up having big spreads because of how bad a team they are. But, they kept it to 7 over the Chargers and a 9-point spread. Now keep this to 3 and a 7-point spread. Like, you know what? Maybe the Titans at home, in terms of, against the spread at least, not in terms of actually winning games. Like they handle themselves pretty decently. So give them their credit there when it's due. Ravens -7.5 at the Browns. They won by 7. So that half number really key in that one. So you take the L there, but Ravens obviously at the win. Giants +7 versus the Packers. 7-point game. So the half points really are key, aren't they? Bengals +5.5 at the Steelers. It just got routed. Just got bad. Flacco didn't exactly set the world alight like he did the last time the Bengals faced the Steelers. So, the AFC North game. Steelers at home. They can handle business on the odd occasion, but now it looks like Aaron Rodgers is actually out for a couple of weeks, right? He got a break in his left wrist, so Mason Rudolph hoops. We'll see how that plays out. A little hint for what's to come. And Raiders +3.5 versus Cowboys. What an idiot I am. Back in the Raiders, Jesus. What was I thinking? Genty about Genty rushing 6 times for 7 yards. And no, that's not because of the meme. That was actually his stat line. He had 6 for 7. So yeah, it's just an awful team that should not be rooted for. And on that note, start with this week's. First up, Browns +4 at the Raiders. Yep, that was it. as I was completely telling them off for how bad they were on Monday night, I'll say the Browns are gonna cover +4. So they're the underdogs in this one. And the way Myles Garrett's been playing this year, 15 sacks I think already. Jesus Christ. He's going up against the Raiders O-line, the way they were playing on Monday night. Yeah, the Raiders on a short week. The way Myles Garrett's played, man. I'll take the Browns, mate. I know it's obviously going to be Shador's first start in the league. That's going to be huge. The Raiders' defense isn't exactly the toughest one to go up against for your first start, where you actually get the first team reps now, so you can throw to Jerry Jeudy and them and feel good about yourself. So yeah, this is one that I do think the Browns can keep within a field goal. I mean, the win is very much on the cards for this one, even though it's at Allegiant. But off the short week, the Raiders are again a team that isn't. You're not facing the 85 Bears, not even facing present day Eagles, or you're not facing your defense in this game, right? So I definitely would say that the +4 on the Browns side does feel like a good pick there. Second up, Bears -2.5 versus Steelers at home. Honestly, Bears like high floor team. However you want to say about how fraudulent they might be, and they don't currently have wins over a team with a winning record, but you definitely say that the rushing attack has been very prominent. The Caleb Williams in the big moments has been able to step up, and the team in general has been able to step up in what has been a really good run for them. And an 8-3 Bears team for going into a real tough part of their season against Mason Rudolph as well, a defense that has been able to work well off turnovers. I think that they can get 1 or 2 in this one for sure, and get the win here. And damn, an 8-3 Bears team would be really good. But Yeah, -2.5, win by another field goal game. I could see it happening for sure, and I mean I've outright picked it here. Third, Patriots -7.5 at the Bengals. That's just mate. Bengals defense, man. Do I see the Bengals putting up 21 on the Patriots? Unlikely. The way they've been bottling up run games, and you got Gonzo on the receiver. I was about to mention Jamar Chase, but he's suspended for this one, right? So honestly, the Patriots in this one feel like the right pick, feel like the -7.5, as much as it is above that key number of 7 of the touchdown mark. It just feels like Trevion Henderson could have a game here. Drake May against the Bengals defense. Like, as much as you want to talk about Drake May's MVP case in terms of him not being able to face good teams, he's faced decent defenses, and he's been able to put up a good marks. And now he's going up against what's easily been the worst defense in the league. So I think the Patriots can put up a fair amount of points here and get this win by over a score. So yeah, that's the one for me there. Next up, much I talked about them earlier, I think because the key number here, Colts +3.5 at the Chiefs, I think this field goal game. I don't think there's much in it. I think Jonathan Taylor off the bye as well can run roughshod over the Chiefs and run a fair amount. And yeah, man, this just seems like the Colts can, with the rest, knowing what this game means in terms of their public perception and how much people actually back the Colts, because they'll still say, oh, it's Daniel Jones, but like going into Arrowhead and putting up a real fight and maybe even getting the win would be massive for this Indianapolis Colts team. And the fact that they're 3.5 point underdogs in this one, it feels like there's a seminal moment in their season, at least in the regular season. If this game comes to a rematch, I know which side I'm picking, as I said before, but definitely in this one, it does feel like the Colts can keep this one to the field goal. Next up, Cowboys +3.5 versus the Eagles. This one's at home. They had the bye before, so the bye, then short week, kind of feel like that almost cancels it out in a bit. And the offense can put up points. We showed that they were very capable on opening night. If without the CeeDee Lamb drops, they easily could have just outright won that game. They did cover, I do believe, and it's a very big test for their defense. But Quinn Williams is a known high-level D tackle, and you got Kenny Clark, got Digizua, you've got Overshown back, Malik Hooker back. It does seem like a defense, as much as it was playing at a porous level earlier in the season. It was very porous in terms of the points they're giving up and being gashed in the run game. That's the bodies that they've added to it. It's like 6 new guys on Monday night. They come back in or got acquired via trade. That there's higher quality on the field for them that could see a turning point. And because this is at AT&T, this is a divisional game which tends to lean closer. It feels like getting that +3.5, getting that field goal game, I can be relatively confident that the Cowboys can cover here and keep this one close. And then final up, the 6th pick, Bucks +6.5, Sunday Night Football at the Rams. Again, I just think it was a Bucks team that could put up points. And I know Rams, Seahawks are definitely much more of a chess match. And, these teams know each other. They play each other twice a year. They're studying each other throughout the off-season because they're the most direct opponents to making a playoff push. It doesn't feel like the Bucks can get points on the board here. And with Bucky Irving coming back as well, that's a big plus. You got Ibuka, you got Baker Mayfield. It feels like the 6.5 is a bit too rich a line for this game, because the Bucks know what it means as well with the Panthers team that with all due respect, is pushing up the divisional standings, and they're both 6-win teams. So the Bucks need this one, and they're going to have to, put up a great fight against the Rams team, which could easily still win because this is quite a wide margin. But +6.5, I do feel confident that the Bucks can cover, and I'll take them in this one. So that's my pick 6, and that's the DNP podcast for this week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Episode 15. You know what I mean? I'd say that's a milestone right there. So thank you for tuning in. Like, rate, subscribe, follow on all platforms so you can keep up to date with each upload, and you have a good one. Bye bye.